friends, and welcome to the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop. This show is dedicated to telling you what inspired me to start this platform. This journey is all about turning pain into power and trauma into triumph. Finding ourselves with broken pieces in life. How do we get back up again? How do we get back up again and thrive? Conversations and advice for the soul. A bit about me. I'm a mom who absolutely loves coffee. Extra cream, extra sugar. Yes, it's true. When I started this podcast about 2 years ago, I struggled with the fact to bring it forth because it requires so much of the uncovering of my soul. After a bit of struggle and a whole lot of prayer, I decided to put this work into the world. So I asked God for a confirmation, and one day I was having lunch alone, and out of nowhere, I see a relative standing before me that I hadn't seen in years. We started talking about our purposes, and she confirmed for me some things that I had talked to God about the night before. So friends, I knew that the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop had to be born. It had to come forth for so many different purposes. And today I'm going to share with you my inspiration for starting this platform. And so it goes like this. When I grew up, I experienced two separate extreme differences. One with my mom and one with my dad. The experience with my mom was extremely traumatic. The experience with my dad was also traumatic, and let me explain. With my mom, there was extreme trauma, extreme abuse. Although loving with my dad, there was also trauma because he was an extreme disciplinarian. So with such extremes growing up, it led me to explore how do we get back up again from traumatic events in our lives, pertaining to every area of life. My parents have inspired me so much in this work. As I was raised by my father, I watched him struggle with learning disabilities, overcome his struggles, earn his master's degree, and eventually build a learning disability program at a major university. I also observed my mom reaching through childhood trauma to accomplish one of her life goals and becoming a gospel recorded artist, turning trauma into triumph and pain into power. I had a front row seat, a seat in observing life at some of the saddest moments, a seat at observing life at some of the most perplexing times. One of the traditions that stuck out with me was my mother's matriarch spirit. Before her death, she managed to become the family's matriarch. She was the one that everyone came to in the family. And when I was a little girl, I had a front row seat. Oh, how she loved her sisters. And they would come over for their daily dose of love, support, connection, and of course, their piping hot, sweet cup of coffee. They would talk about their traumas, things that bothered them from years past. They would talk about finances, relationship, business ideas, trips that they would love to take, anything you could think about. They talked about it and they connected. Through my young eyes, I began to see a familiar connection, a connection in trauma, trying to get back up again. Trying to get back up again from life experiences when life had literally thrown them down. They needed to get back up. They would laugh, they would cry, they would sing, they would belt out gospel lyrics, songs that they made up. They were gospel singers, and even at their shows, I would see the pain of trauma and hope. They would all eventually end up back at my mom's house the following day. The story seemed to be repetitive, but as I grew up, I realized pain has to get out. And if it doesn't, it has the propensity to stay there and live forever. And so my inspiration continued. inspiration comes from my own life. As I went through life, going through all sorts of things like bad relationships, teenage pregnancy, getting pregnant my first year in college, things that I was sure I had a good grip on, but actually I didn't. I realized that I wasn't the only one having these experiences, and sometimes they would be extreme, and sometimes I didn't have the answers. I didn't know where to turn, I didn't know where to go. But at those times, I did have my faith. I did have my faith in God. From a young girl, I learned to trust in God, even though I didn't know what it would look like or turn out to be. I received this level of faith from both my mom and my dad, even though they had very different religious beliefs. But I will admit, there were times when I did not know how in the world could I get back up again. How can I figure this out? How do I turn my trauma into triumph? How do I turn my pain into power? My next inspiration would come from something I experienced as a mother. One of my children experienced a great sadness, and it sent vibrations throughout our family. There was nothing I could do about it, and I wondered, how can I put this child back together again? How can I put myself back again after being broken in so many different pieces? And at times, this is the reality of a parent. Whether you're a mom, dad, caregiver, foster parent, what have you. If you love a child, you'll know that parenting is just not your day-to-day task. Parenting involves soul work, hard work, and hard work. And so through this time, I had the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And sometimes, friends, that's not easy, especially as a parent. Because as a parent, you want to put things back together again, better than when they were broken. You want everything right for your sweet child, but sometimes you just can't fix it. Another inspiration has definitely come from being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship takes work. Sometimes things fall apart and you're trying to look brave. You're trying to look as if you have it all together, when actually some things are falling apart. And so I knew as an entrepreneur, there are so many experiences that I could share to help you get back up again and survive traumatic experiences that often happen to so many entrepreneurs. Whether you want to go in business, keep going in business, or recover from a business, entrepreneurship can have its struggles. So how do we turn our pain into power, our failures into power, and our trauma into triumph in business? How in the world do we survive parenting, business, life experiences? And so I looked at my life and I said, I know good and well. You know, that's what the old folks would say. I know good and well I am not the only one. You know, friends, in life, there'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be changes, there'll be turnarounds. There will be sadness, there will be wholeness. There will be struggle, and there will be peace. And on this journey, we'll explore it all. We'll talk to moms, dads, business strategists, and experts who can show us firsthand how they turn their pain into power and their trauma into triumph. They'll give us the keys, tips, and strategies to keep going and experience success and live our very best lives. I'm so excited you've joined me for the journey. We ultimately want to make true connections on the inside, so we'll have the tools and strategies to keep going in the face of adversity. How do we consistently build that muscle, that strong muscle, to really keep going when things have somehow fallen apart? Things have turned into trauma, pain, disappointment, and trial. How do we get back up again and thrive? Sometimes we don't know where the pieces fit, but somehow we know that they will come together. So friends, thank you for stepping inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop. Please rate and subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere this podcast is available. Until next time, I'm KK Smith. And remember, you can always celebrate wins and get back up again inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop.